Hey YouTube, what's going on? You are tuned into the Straight SRT8 YouTube channel where we discuss all things SRT8 related. Behind me is my 2017 Jeep SRT, and unfortunately today is a blistering 0 degrees Fahrenheit and I need to change my battery because it's shot. So behind me, as you look at the engine bay, you can't really see the battery, right? So you kind of wonder where it is. Well, the battery is pretty large, and there's no space for it in this cabinet because there's too much motor there. So the engineers decided to move it somewhere else. And the new location for the battery is right here in the passenger seat. Go ahead and open this door up. And right behind this seat, or under this seat, is the position of the battery. So in order to move this, you have to move your seat back. So we're going to go up here and push this forward as far as it'll go, and then up as high as it'll go. So go forward. Okay, and then we'll go up. This will go up quite a ways. All right, and then forward. And then up, and then over. All right, that's as high as the seat will go. Now in the rear side of the car, we have access right here to the battery compartment. So let me go ahead and do a little bit of house cleaning. All right, so right under, it's kind of dark in here, I apologize. Right under your seat is the battery cover. So we're gonna go ahead and take that off. And it just pops right up. A little bit of force, obviously. And pull it back. Just kind of slides out back here. And there's access to your very big battery. As you can see on here, this is for my it's my original battery. So we have to go down here is then remove all of these terminals, and we're going to replace it with a new battery that I just purchased. Now keep in mind that in the winter time it's harder for batteries to move electrical current, which means it's harder to start your car. That's why sometimes your car kind of turns over a little bit at times, or it doesn't turn over at all, and batteries have a large drain on the system. This is why, because of the cold weather. So during the winter time, a lot of car batteries go, as mine just did. If I could wait out to the summertime, it'd be fine. It'd be much more active and do a better job of starting the car when it's warmer out. But unfortunately, right now, it is the dead of winter, and there isn't any summer in the near future. So I'm going to go ahead and change this guy out with a new battery. Alright guys, so as a reminder, make sure you're not wearing any jewelry while you're doing this. And be extremely careful around these terminals here. It's only 12 volts, but you're talking about hundreds of amps right here. It's extremely dangerous. So if you're not sure what you're doing, please go ahead and have your mechanic do the work for you. But if you're all right doing this kind of work, then let's proceed. So first things first, you need a small ratchet set, speed wrench, whatever you want to use. And this one is a size 10 millimeter. So I'm going to go here and start removing these terminals. Be careful you don't touch positive and negative together. Again, it's going to be a huge problem there. Also, when you're on the positive terminal, don't touch anything metal. Otherwise, you're going to ground yourself and get shorted as well. If you want, you can start the negative terminal, remove this, and then just use the positive terminal. If you're doing that, as long as your negative terminal is removed, you won't get zapped. You start the positive, of course. Make sure you don't touch the ground. So I'm going to go right here and start with the negative terminal. You're going to loosen this bolt right here instead. This is going to allow the terminal to get removed. This is just a relay, and this is, of course, your negative return. So start with moving just this alone. Get nice and loose, and then give it a good wiggle, and it should come right off. Now, this clamp may be a little bit too tight, in which case, even though it feels loose, it may not want to come off. So it looks like this one's just a little bit too tight, so I'm going to loosen it right here at the flathead. Alright, so go right here and give it a little bit of a wiggle and loosen that up. As you can see right here, it's kind of loosened that terminal on the negative terminal. And then put this flashlight down, make it dark for a second. Just gonna loosen this and pull it right off. All right. All right, so you do have to take a flathead and go ahead and pry it into this little slot right here, and then help loosen it off of the negative terminal. Once you're done, go ahead and slide this back down. Make sure it does not come in contact with the battery. All right, so that's nice and far down there. Now we go back here to the positive terminal and do the exact same thing. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this nut and loosen it. Get it nice and loose. Before you start pulling on it though, down here there are two screws or two nuts you want to loosen. This will hold the battery in place. So by removing these, you can pull the battery back closer to you and then get back there and get a better grip on that positive terminal and make it easier to remove. So let's go ahead and remove these two nuts. All right, so for these two battery holding features down here with the two nuts, these are going to take a 1/2 inch socket, and I'm going to use a 1/2 inch driver because it's a little bit longer. It can help get down there and reach. And as a tip, when you're changing these nuts out, go ahead and use an extension on there. Makes it a hell of a lot easier. So once those two nuts are removed, this bottom plate right here lifts right up and comes out. So now the battery is going to move more freely side to side, as you can see right here. There is a vent right here though. So this vent allows the air from the battery to escape. It actually is a vented battery. So you want to go ahead and remove this vent by just pulling on it right here. It removes that vent. This vent's going to stay in here to reconnect to your next battery. Now you have space to pull this battery forward and go ahead and remove this positive terminal. Alright, so you can see here I have my negative terminal removed and my positive terminal removed. And now back here on this positive terminal, I'm trying to show you guys a better angle. You want to leave this one on and remove this screw way in the back. Alright, that actually secures the terminal to the battery terminal. Once that's done, you want to carefully make sure your battery terminals do not touch each other or touch the battery, and then go ahead and pick this battery up and remove it. Again, it is quite heavy, probably weighs maybe 30-40 pounds, and then go ahead and slide that out. And once your battery comes out, this is your compartment. You have your positive plug again in the back, negative right here, and your vent. So once that's done, you always want to compare your two batteries together. So for mine, I decided to go with purchasing a die-hard battery. It is a die-hard platinum AGM. And next to it we have the Chrysler battery. So checking them out, they look pretty much the same. Your positive terminal, they're both lead acid batteries. And now let's compare location of the terminals. Positive here, positive there, pretty much the same. Negative and negative, so that's good. And now compare your code cranking amps. So here, get the flashlight on your face. It says 70 code cranking amps at negative 18C, or 700 I mean. And right here we have 850. So right there it shows you that this battery is a little bit over the top, but that's usually how they go, is they try and exceed the requirements of the vehicle. So this die-hard battery here, as advertised, has more cold cranking amps than the other battery did. So now we're going to go ahead and reinstall it. Before we do, I recommend buying one of these kits. This makes it easier to mark off your positive and negative terminal, because once this is removed, it looks exactly the same. There are indicators on here saying positive, positive, negative, negative. But again, having this this black and red reference is really nice. And then there is some grease in here. You go ahead and put it on your terminals to make sure that they don't corrode, and that you can easily put on and remove those terminals inside the vehicle. If you're not familiar with batteries, your positive always is red and your negative is always black. So go ahead and install these and grease them up. Alright, so once you're all done installing your gaskets and your grease, you can see right here we got some silicone grease in there and our red gasket on our positive terminal. And here we have some more silicone grease and our black gasket on our negative terminal. Now, Die-Hard does come with this handy dandy little cover that I like to use. That's only for installation purposes. It helps cover the positive terminal. That way you don't accidentally touch something and get zapped. Once we use a negative exposed, negative is safe to touch because it's just a return power. Positive is also safe to touch as long as you don't touch the positive while touching the negative together. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall this vehicle or this battery in the vehicle using the same approach we did to remove it. Remember, the positive goes further towards the front of the car and the negative goes further towards the back of the car. Now, when reinstalling this battery in its final location, again, have orientation proper prior to installation. So negative right here, positive right here. When you get down here, make sure your battery area is clean. If there's any debris on there, go ahead and remove it. And make sure your positive, negative, and vented air cable are out of the way you don't pinch any cables during installation. So when installing your positive terminal, make sure it's orientated the exact way that I have it shown right here. You want to have, let's see if I can get my hand over there. You want to have this portion right here flat against this part of the battery. If not, it won't lodge itself in there. What I had to do was orientate it properly and push the battery to the left a little bit too far. Get it right in there because it's a real tight fit. And then go ahead and secure this down. And then once that's secured, go ahead and push the battery back in place. And then as a reminder, don't forget to plug this guy in. It just has a barbed tip. Pushes right in there. And then for final reference information, when you install this cover again, you want to have it facing this direction, where these screw holes are facing towards you in the camera. And then this back part has a little lip on it that helps secure the battery in place. And that just slides down here. Right. Like this. Alright, let's go ahead and secure the negative terminal. Alright, so now we have our battery in location and we're ready to install the negative terminal. Now keep in mind that your vehicle has been disconnected from the battery, which means that as soon as you touch that negative terminal, you're going to get a little bit of a spark. And that's going to be because your car is going to start drawing all of its standby power. Now by that I mean it's going to power up your gauges, your ECU, any lights you have on the car, anything like that. So upon that instant touching of the negative terminal, is going to spark a little bit, and don't be scared. That's typical. And I'm going to show you right now on camera, that way you guys get an idea of how it's actually going to look if you're doing it yourself. Alright, so we have our positive terminal installed. And now I'm going to attach negative slowly and carefully. Keep your hands away from the terminal while attaching it. Alright, so a little bit of spark and a spark and a smoke right there. That's all there is to it. Make sure you have all your auxiliary power turned off. If it's turned on, you can have a much bigger spark. It can be much more dangerous to you and to the vehicle. So now I'm going to torque that down, and then I'll go ahead and install those lower nuts down here that I showed you before that we're using to hold the battery in place. Please remember to use those bolts and to secure them tightly. And once you're all said and done, push these flaps down that are used to hold the battery. Give me a second here. These flaps right here, make sure they're secured down. Now when reinstalling these lower battery mounts with these nuts right here, again using a half-inch driver, or I mean a quarter-inch driver, or 3/8 driver, and a quarter or half-inch socket, excuse me. When doing that, you're gonna get pretty close to this negative terminal right here. And that's okay because this is the negative terminal of the car. Your wrench, which is metal, obviously the battery terminal is metal. It's all grounded right now because I'm touching the metal part of the car. So your battery actually grounds or has a return to the car. So anywhere in the car is considered a negative for the battery. So if this wrench were to touch this battery terminal, it would be perfectly fine and nothing's going to happen. However, if you touch the positive terminal, you're going to be in a lot of trouble and get a very huge spark. All right. So don't worry about having your wrench touch this negative terminal, or even having your hand touch it like I am right now when it's on these loader battery holding mounts. Alright, so once you have your battery holding mounts secured with those nuts, you got your negative terminals tightened down, double check them. Your positive terminals tightened down, double check them. Now it's just a matter of reinstalling that hard plastic cover. Any proper orientation. Now when you install it, you want to have it go like this, where the word VIN is readable and facing you. And as you can see underneath here, there are just 4 locating and locking tabs. So go ahead and push that through. Give it a good pound and hold it in place. Alright, once that's said and done, go ahead and lower your mats back to where they belong, and remember to move your passenger seat down. Alright, so with your foot off the brake, you push that push to start twice until you're in the run position mode, which you are right here. And scroll down to your vehicle settings, which are shown by this picture of a Grand Cherokee. And we go to over the battery, it shows 12.3 volts. Now the batteries we're buying are 12 volt batteries because the entire car system drives on 12 volts. But in order to charge 12 volts, you need to have more than 12 volts. So our alternators, which come in our vehicles, they provide a power of approximately 14 volts, 14.5 volts. So when I push the start button, my car turns over, you're going to see this go from 12.3 to 14.5-ish. Now that 14.5 means it's charging the vehicle. If that 14.5 changes to 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, so on and so forth, either means your alternator is shot and that you're relying on only battery power at that point, or it means that your battery is pulling down your alternator. Either way, you have an electrical issue. Once you install a new battery, make sure that you go ahead and drive your car, or at least let it idle, in order to let the car charge. Now, a common myth is that whether the car is idling or at full 6,000 RPMs, the battery charges differently. There is a slight difference in how much it charges, but in reality, it's almost negligible. The electronics in the vehicle do not allow the battery to charge, for example, 6 times faster at 6,000 RPMs versus 1,000 RPMs. It's pretty much uniform charging. If you charge too fast, you do damage to the battery, so you want to do a nice slow charge. Now the battery is only really used for starting the car. Once the car is started, then the alternator kicks in and that provides power to the rest of the vehicle. And then again, when your car is off, you're using that battery, like right now, to power the lights, to power the dashboard, and save all your positions in your memory and whatnot. As soon as that goes away for having low fluid. Alright, 14.5 volts. So right now, the alternator is charging that battery. Again, make sure you drive around for a little bit to allow that battery to fully charge. The way you don't have a half-charged battery, and then you go start your vehicle the next day and it's dead again. Alright, that is it for this video. Thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you guys next time.